Good morning, everybody. This is John Scarborough and Savannah Scarborough. We're out here today. I wanted to show y'all our new pig setup here. We've been doing this for a couple moves now, and I'm really liking it. I think Savannah's liking it. So I just wanted to kind of walk y'all through our process here, what we're figuring out with this. We do still plan to do other pigs in electric. This is just a separate thing that we're using, and I'm really liking it, and I think it could really work out for a lot of different people. But today's video, I just want to kind of let y'all walk through the process and see what we've got going on. So I'm gonna let Savannah get started. So I've set this up to where she can handle all of this by herself. Doesn't need any help.
And I've already moved it 3 times by myself.
Yep.
Just 3 times.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go through and show you all the moves here in a minute, what each move looks like throughout the stages. This is actually a pressure washer, a 3-point hitch pressure washer. But for the moment, for the experiment, it's a 600-gallon tank, so we're using it as a tank in order to get just to test it out. And we've had them out here for, how long have we had them out here, Savannah?
Since August 29th.
Since August 29th, and then tell them today's date.
Today is October 10th.
Yeah, so that's how long we've had them out here, and we're not even quite to half on our water. We're getting close to half, so that's pretty long. And of course, as they get older, they drink more water, but then as the summer goes away, as the heat goes away, they drink less water. So it's kind of balancing itself out right now. Now we have a special feed system that we've already kind of come up with, and we're planning on using that before we're all done. Here, put it in this corner right here, Savannah. Yeah, just for now, since you got a hole there, that way I can get feed in it. Right over there, just where it's flat, yeah. But for now, that's what we're using. We're using that old tire. Works just fine, but it's not my favorite. But this works pretty good. This pin it's put together with pins right here. So this whole thing will come loose and then fold all up into nothing, you know what I mean? And we just use old scrap, so I mean, there's nothing straight or perfect. I mean, we just made it as good as it needs to. And we've got chain hooked to the front of it. And I've made it to where I can put the chain on either side, so we can pull it either direction. So we're just going to get Savannah to pull that right up with that tractor. I'll show you this right quick. Show you right here. We just used pieces of pipe, just stuffed them into the end of there, and it works as a good ring. That's 2 3/8 pipe drill stem we use. She just starts kind of bumping on it, and that just gets the pigs to know what's going on, because they don't get moved every day. They get moved as often as they need to be moved. Once they realize there's something green and fresh, they start moving on up. This one right here fell in a hole or something, this one in the back. So it's got a little bit of a limp right now. So that's something you have to watch for. She's having to be a little more cautious than maybe normal. You can tell it's just favoring one leg just a little bit. You sure don't want to drag a leg under or anything. But even with that, everything's moving great. You saw the way the ones that didn't have a limp move forward without any problem. You can go ahead and kill the tractor once you get it back. So y'all see here, I mean, you can do anything, but for now I just put in one of these pins. It's just what I had an extra pin, so I just put it into there. Just throw the chain over and it works out just fine. Of course, I keep that chain up off the ground. But this is what it starts out like. And they always go through and start eating the top grass, and then they start rooting up. So you could actually move them daily if you didn't want to root up your pasture. Now, I know I've had people, no, I've said in my videos that I don't like pastured pigs. I like forest pigs, so I know I'm going to get a lot of people in my comments questioning that. But the reason I'm actually doing it out here is because this area right here is so bumpy and messed up. It's not like smooth pasture anyway. And we're not doing it in the dead of summer where they don't have any shade. We're starting to cool down. I mean, we're in t-shirts and shorts, but it's nice weather, very nice. And then this tree line right here blocks the west. So once you get to about 1 o'clock, you don't get any more sun anyway. So that hot part of the day, they never feel that anyway. But I mean, we've been getting 70s and 80s for our high. So it works out pretty good. But I'm gonna walk past here and I'm gonna show you each section throughout. This is when they're done. This is, you know, it's not smooth. If this was a good pasture, I would never want to do this without finding a way to smooth this out, okay? But this pasture was already at least this rough, if not a little rougher. They may even be smoothing it out a little bit compared to what it is. And we're not doing it to smooth it out. We're doing it because of stuff like this. This is a certain, this is a root nodule to a certain type of weed. Savannah, hold off on that, and I'm going to talk about that here in just a minute. But it's a certain type of weed, and I forget the name. I mean, I just had it on the tip of my tongue, and I forget it. A lot of y'all will know when y'all look at it. It's this plant right here. And this plant is not a bad plant, okay? Goats and sheep love it. Cows will even eat some of it in the wintertime. And if you're wanting deer on your property, this is a wonderful plant for deer, because it's an evergreen and it provides some green for them. But it grows a big root nodule that stores energy, and the pigs really love that. So it can be useful for feeding your pigs, but it can also be useful. Your pigs coming out here near this creek and eating some of that root nodule keeps those from taking over, because that is a vine and it will grow up into these trees and start to kill out the trees. So it's not that we're trying to get rid of those, but we're just trying to control them a little bit with these pigs. So I'm gonna start walking backwards because Savannah is putting out seed over top of this. We're putting out different seeds, so you can go ahead and seed that real quick. Now today we're putting sprouted peas, even though peas probably not the best thing to put out in October. We're putting them out because Savannah grows microgreens, and she kind of had a, I mean, whatever you want to call it, a little bit of a mess up, whatever.
Yeah, I left them soaking for too long.
Yeah, they're going to go bad anyway, so we're just going to put them out here and see if they'll get a little green. Peas, this type of peas right here actually provides a pretty good protein. And it may be that they'll actually grow well enough. She's going to put out some sunflower as well. They may actually grow well enough to provide a little protein for the cattle once we bring the cattle back in. The cows will probably come in here maybe 2 months from now, month and a half. We'll see. But ordinarily we're putting out other types of seeds. What have we been putting out, Savannah?
Pak choy and turnips.
Pak choy and turnips, and if I clover would be a good mix to put in there, but I didn't put any clover out this year simply because we have so much clover coming up in this patch that I didn't feel the need to put out any extra clover. But if you didn't have a lot of clover, those three right there I think would make a pretty good mix, along with maybe some other stuff. Pak choy I'm actually pretty excited about, because pak choy grows in our part of the country. It seems to grow 9 to 10 months out of the year. I mean, it's growing during cool season, it's growing during the summer. It just seems to grow. I'm excited about it. So I'm excited to be trying it out here in our pastures and see just how well it'll turn out. It's a good high protein plant as well, and it's actually really nutritious for humans too. So this is your the last move right here. You can tell we're starting to get a little bit of green. It's coming in, and all we're doing is just throwing that seed right on top of the ground. That's it. Just throwing it right on top and giving it a try. If we move forward here, got another spot, and you can tell there's more holes in some of them and not as bad in other ones. You know, it's just kind of depends. And you can control this. Like I said, we're leaving them here until they've dug up the whole spot. You don't have to necessarily do that. And there is one of these spots that you moved them after a rain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was the one I just moved them from, actually.
Okay.
But
yeah, and to me it looks flatter. It almost looks a little smoother than some. This right here looks to be the smoothest spot.
And this was because it was like there wasn't very much grass here when I moved them. It was just like.
So did they get to rooting quicker?
Sand. Yeah.
You think they were rooting quicker?
Like, especially this spot here, sand.
Yeah.
So there wasn't much to root up. There wasn't. They rooted a little bit, but then it was pretty much just.
Yeah.
Just flat.
And anybody who doesn't know, pigs naturally they find one spot to poop, and that's where they're going to poop, and that's always going to. For these pigs, they've chose this corner. Why they chose the corner under their shelter, I don't know, but that's what they did. And so they're going to poop for the rest of their lives in that pen. As long as they're in that pen, they're always going to poop in that corner. If you have pigs in a pen and they've been pooping in one spot and they move to another spot pooping, that is a bad sign. That means, and especially if they start spreading their poop everywhere, that means that you have left those pigs in that one spot way, 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 way too long. Because pigs, they're pooping in one spot because they don't want their poop where they're digging and eating. They don't want that. But if they're pooping everywhere, that means that they're trying to, you know, it's a sign. It's a bad sign. You don't want to do that. That's where you start to see bad livers when you process them and things like that. We've got a good track record with our butcher for having very clean organs, very clean livers with all of our animals. So that's a good sign. That's what we want to keep up with. But it's going to be the same corner every single time. But if we come out over in here, this is another move we did.
So I redid this one.
And what did you redo this one for?
I think I did.
What do you mean you redid it? You reseeded it.
Reseeded it.
Oh yeah, because this is the one we experimented. We actually put seed. So right now we're putting seed after we move them. On this one, we just wanted to try putting seed before we moved them. And that didn't turn out at all, right?
Well, there was some. It took forever
Yeah.
before I started seeing some.
But you did reseed this then?
I think I did.
Okay. Well, that's hard to know what the experiment is then.
I'm pretty sure I did this one, that one. I did a little bit here, and I did that one and that one.
Yeah, and it's to be expected. It's how I expected it, because all of these are low. All of these plants are meant to be very like shallow, you know, like inch, you know, maybe ½ inch deep. And so sprinkling them on the ground can be just fine as long as it's aggravated along there. But if you wanted to do something that was more of a deep rooted plant, you would be better off, like maybe corn or something, putting corn out and letting them actually till that in. But that's going to be more of a summer crop. But you can see these are the ones, these are the first two moves right here, and you can really see that's coming in good. I mean, we're going to see some deer down in here this year grazing because of this.
So you see the pack toy.
And our cattle is going to get a good benefit from this as well.
Yeah, so there's the pak choi.
You can always tell pak choi by its white base.
Yep.
Yep. That's going to be a good plant. But I'm excited about the pak choi, guys. Like I said, just several reasons. There's a lot of good reasons. Pak choi is actually one of my favorite vegetables, just because of its for myself, because it's one of the most to me, it's got the best nutrient profile. So I really like it. But it's also, you know, that's just seeing how much it grows. I mean, it sprouts out in the pasture and it'll grow. So I'm kind of excited to see whether this will throw its own seed. I know to throw its own seed, but whether it will throw the seed and then continue to grow in our pastures from now on. And I mean, if it'll do that and then provide winter green along with some good protein, you know, for the remainder of that cold part of the year, I mean, that's really good. This one didn't come in as good. I think it's probably has to do with the sun. You see the creek comes in along this way right here, and it blocks a lot of that morning sun, and then it gets blocked in the evening sun. I mean, if you turn over here, you know, that's your east. Well, the sun's coming up over here. I mean, you can see it right there. But the point is that throughout the day, I mean, you'll get a little bit of sun, but not a lot before it gets blocked by trees. This one's doing a lot better, but that's my theory on this section right here, is that it's just not, it didn't quite get as much sun. It's kind of hard to tell. Let's see how many spots we have. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we moved them on the 7th spot. So would you say that's close to 7 weeks? I didn't even do the math on it. How long has that been? I don't even remember what dates you said.
Like 5 to 6 weeks. The 29th. So the 29th would be 4 weeks, and then no, it's only been like 5 weeks.
Okay. Okay. So we are moving them an average of more than once a week, because we moved them 7 times in close to 5 weeks. So we're excited to see how it works. Y'all stay tuned. We're probably going to put out a couple shorts on this, maybe some longs. When the winter comes, if it was dead of summer, I'd have 2 sheets of 10 up there. It's just as easy as just throwing some sheets up there. And then when the cold winter comes, then I'll have sheets along the side. But I made it all to where it's easy to take off or put on, depending on what they need. You know, depending on the time of year, depending on what they act like they need. You know, all of that stuff affects different things. So anyway, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap this video up. Well, I did want to show you this. I did actually show a little small video on one of these pig waterers right here. We've made it to where it hooks directly into a hose, and they've got water right there. It's very low pressure. It's just a gravity system. Now you could hook this into a pond, which we have done in the past. You could hook it into whatever. Currently, it's hooked into this large tank right here, like we said, and I'll show you kind of what we did. It's nothing complicated. I will not be using my pressure washer forever for this, but it does make a good backup water trough. That's all we have right there, just a little hookup. And I actually prefer, and you see that, just use one of these quick couplers right there, but I actually prefer gravity over siphoning for livestock. Siphoning is good. Like, we use that out of our pond because we don't have the gravity, but siphoning requires it to be, you know, kind of like you have a diesel system. Everything has to stay purged through. You can't have any air in the lines or anything. It's not exactly the same for anybody that wants to be nitpicky, but the point is it's a little more critical, whereas gravity, it's just got the weight of all of that mass pushing it down. So if I take this loose and it was a siphon, I'd mess up the siphon. But since it's gravity, it's simple. I pull it loose, clean it out, whatever. If it were to get a little algae in there, it wouldn't be a problem. So yeah. See that, guys? Look at that. I'm talking to y'all and I forgot to turn the water back on. That's one thing I like to do every time. That's why I told her this. Every single time, the last thing I do before I leave my animals, especially if I'm on a system like this, is I just make it a habit. The last thing I do is I touch that water and make sure it's coming out. Why am I doing that? Well, you saw how easy it was just now for me to leave that valve off. Well, if I make it a habit to where that's the last thing I do, then I'll catch that I left that valve off. But if I don't make that a habit, right now, you know, they've got green grass, it's not hot, they'd probably be okay for a little while. But if we were in the dead of summer, that's a bad mistake right there. So developing, not expecting yourself to be perfect. I could expect myself to be perfect and make sure I keep the valve on no matter what, or I could develop a habit like this that says that's the last thing I'm gonna do, and then I'm good to go. That helps out a lot. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap up this video. I will be showing y'all our feed system that we're gonna put on there that will provide good long-term feed, that if we wanted to take a couple-day vacation, these pigs would be just fine with the feed, the water, everything. We're going to show y'all all that here in just a little bit, so y'all stay tuned for all of that. Thank you so much. Don't forget, like and subscribe and help us with our journey of growing our channel and everything else.